Hey guys, how you doing today? We're going to do a little walk through the New England Motorcycle Museum and show you how far we've gotten and what our plans for the future are. So we're going to start with a walk up to the retail sales showroom, so let's take a quick walk. When we got here 10 years ago, this was the center of the spiritual, moral, and physical decay of Rockville. This was the ground zero, the worst spot in the town. And it's become one of, if not the best spots in the town now. You'll see as you come through here. There's a total of 11 acres. We on both sides of the street. That side of the street, we have an acre and a half. We bought that for parking. And we bought this side of the street with the 10 buildings. There's actually 150,000 square foot of buildings here. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
There's 150,000 square foot of buildings. In the last 10 years, we've restored 65,000 square foot. So we still have another over 80,000 square foot to do. The total investment in the project has been about $7.3 million. Of that, $2 million was my money, $4 million was a loan from the state. There was an $866,000 State Historic Parks Office contribution and a couple of smaller grants, one for $75,000 and one Urban Act grant for $500,000. So it's been very much a...
You got a car then.
Yeah.
Don't get run over. It's been a team project here. There's been a lot of community spirit here. There's some of my volunteers in the back there. How you guys want to raise your hand? There's my volunteer team. There they are. These are the guys that have been working with me on and off in the 10 years here. Not just to fix this property, but the first event we had here, which was about 7 years ago, we had an urban block party. We blocked off the street, and we had the Department of Economic Development Commissioner coming here and a couple of other significant people. And I realized, okay, we cleaned up the street scene here. There was no graffiti or abandoned cars, but coming down the hill right across from Town Hall, there was a big class of 2000 50-foot long graffiti. There was abandoned couches on the side of the road and abandoned cars. So we did a call to action then, and we started a group called the Rockville Volunteer Services Group. Over 300 people have been part of that group and have donated their time and treasure, as Drew would say, and help me clean up this little city of Rockville. So when you drive through Rockville, you go down, if you go down West Main Street, East Main Street, Grove, or Union, the four major throughways in the town, you won't see any graffiti. You won't see any abandoned cars. And Mayor Dan and the town council and the entire community has pitched in and cleaned up the city. The Public Works has done quite a bit. There's been over $120 million invested into resurrecting the city of Rockville in the last 10 years. I had a meeting with the town planner, Sean Gately, about, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, and he said, you won't recognize Rockville in 5 years. Well, it took 10 years, it took us twice as long, cost twice as much, and probably twice as much heartache as I anticipated, but it's been very much a group effort from a bunch of different people. If you go up Union Street, you'll see the former mill that's been turned into Loom City Lofts. Absolutely beautiful, $21 million project. If you go to Grove Street, there were 10 abandoned factory buildings that were dismantled there. That was all cleaned up. That's another $25 million project. We invested about $7.3 million here, and there's been over, I don't have the exact number, but somewhere in the area, $70 million has been invested into rebuilding the bridges and roadways of this little mill town that had been, I'm not going to say it was neglected, but it was in pretty rough shape 10 years ago, a lot of the areas. So I've been here since 1974. So, and as far as the bridges, you look across the street, there's a brand new bridge there, there's a brand new bridge over here, and there's one a quarter mile down the road. This road was shut down for about a year. Good thing our business wasn't open because there's only one way out for a while, but those three bridges represent close to $10 million of investment. So a lot of infrastructure investment from the state, the federal government, and private enterprises resulted in this town being something that people all over the world are attracted to. There's something special going on here. It was a labor of love, definitely, because this is worth less than half of what I could sell it for right now. So for me, it's been a labor of love, and I think for a lot of other people, the mayor and the people on the town council and the volunteers, definitely a labor of love. This is something that everybody pitched in. Drew has had a huge impact with the Jesus Fest events that he put on here, and the coffee shop, and all of the positive spin. He's put on everything in Rockville since he's been doing that for probably 20 years or more. But the last 10 years has been a big push. And it's people like that, the grassroots efforts that pitch in, that makes people excited. I'm going to show you a guest book in there. Just in the last month, I've had people from New Zealand, from the UK, from all over the country have been here to this city of Rockville, and they're coming because they're attracted by what they're seeing on YouTube. So come on in, I'll show you what's attracting them here anyway.
How you doing? I'm doing.
Oh man, great, the great guy.
Thank you.
About, what was it? Let's see, it was probably 2012. Drew and I were sitting right over there, and there was nothing in there for a TV show that Drew puts on. This event today is thanks to Drew. Drew sponsored this event, put this on. But we were sitting here, there was no heat in here yet. We were freezing our butts off, and we filmed a half-an-hour show in here. That's when this building was almost done. This is the first building we restored. This is the first building in the state of Connecticut to achieve certified historic restoration to be used for industrial use. They've all been used for housing. So we're kind of been a trailblazer in that. Instead of doing subsidized housing, we're bringing business to town. This is the first business that moved here. This is Kaplan Cycles. This is my business. My son, Kenny, and I, and a crew of about 17 full-time employees work here now. So that's my desk back there. Junior sits over here. Cody moved from upstate New York, from a very successful 50-year plus Harley-Davidson dealership, because he was attracted to what he saw happening here. We had another family move from California, the John Greer family, to be part of this. There's a lot of volunteers, like Mark Vesco, he volunteers here. The museum is run almost entirely by volunteers. So, like I said, the whole community spirit thing.
Ken, there are other motorcycle shops around. What makes you unique? What does Kaplan Cycles do?
Well, we specialize in mostly vintage motorcycles, so you're gonna see bikes from the 20s and 30s out there. We're not just a Honda or a Harley shop or a Suzuki, we have all brands from A to Z. In fact, there's probably a half a dozen brands out there that if you ask any motorcyclist under 40 years old, they won't even know what it is. So it's a history museum. We feature the motorcycle as art, and there's a tremendous amount. If you look from the ceilings to floors, the walls, everywhere, there's artwork everywhere in this building. Helmets, well, to me it's artwork, memorabilia, vintage signs. Like just yesterday, this was something that came in. This was a gift from a Husqvarna racer. So this is the kind of history. This is a 50-year-old picture that was donated to the museum. A lot of the motorcycles that are in the museum are on loan from the Antique Motorcycle Club of America or from local collectors. So in this room here, this is where we film and do photo shoots. This is where we start a lot of the videos for the bikes that we're selling. If you're wondering where the money comes from to keep this place afloat, we sell on average 50 motorcycles a month. Right now we're about a $1.5 million company. I want to bring us to 10 million in sales, and we're getting there a little bit at a time. We're bringing new people on and growing our sources for buying the motorcycles. It's a little bit different than most new, we're not a franchise, so we have to find the motorcycles to purchase. Tomorrow I'm going to Stanford to buy 18 motorcycles from the estate. Last weekend I picked up, actually the same amount, 18 motorcycles were donated to the museum. All these bikes here on the right were donated by a wealthy benefactor who wants to remain anonymous, so from New Jersey. So there's been a lot of people stepping up to help us out. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. So again, this is the first building built in 1906, finished and restored in 2013. It looked a lot worse than that building over there, to give you an idea of what it's like. So this is exactly the way the building was built. This is exactly the way the building was built in 1906. The windows, everything's the same. So
Sorry, it's one.
let's keep moving. We'll take a walk. This bridge was added in 1931 as a way to get the tools and equipment from the second floor of the machine shop over to here, because they actually made the parts for the lathes, because everything was moving, so parts would break. So that's what this bridge was originally enclosed. The fire marshal wanted it open, which wasn't the best thing in the winter time and for the structural integrity of the bridge, but that's what he wanted from a fire suppression. In any event, the river actually ran directly underneath here into that keystone down there. There was a small one and a large one. The large one was the last wheel. You got to keep in mind, this building was built in 1814. We want to run into it's the last of its kind, the last wooden and brick and stone mill building in Rockville. They're all gone. There were 13 of them. 205 years ago, that was before electricity existed. That's before the automobile, before the motorcycle. This was horse and buggy days, you know, so the lighting was oil lamps, the heat was very limited, so they worked in the daytime and they went home at night basically, and everything was water powered, even the elevator. So the river, if you want to see a picture of it, at the New England Motorcycle Museum sign at the entry, there's a historic plaque about this big, which has a history of the museum and talks about what they did here. They made high quality worsted wool. They made suits for 4 presidents, including William B. McKinley's 1897 inauguration suit, and also Roosevelt's 1905 suit were made right here in Rockville Materials. There's a letter from the president that you'll see when you walk down the stairs. So it's a very significant historic building. It's preserved exactly the way it was originally built in 1814. So come on in, I'll show you. I'll try to stay up here with me, otherwise the audio is going to be horrendous on that. The floors you're looking at here, folks, these are original 1814 rock maple floors, which there were literally years of labor invested in restoring these floors because the roofs had failed and a lot of the wood had bubbled up. When we go to the 4th floor, I'll show you on the 4th floor where we had harvested half. This is a football field long. It's 305 feet long, 35 feet wide, and it's 4 stories tall. And sometimes I feel like this is a project of biblical proportions. And I actually looked up one night. I was like, oh, check it out. How big was Noah's Ark? Because I feel like Noah sometimes. And this is actually from the tip of that white building to the tip of the brick building at the end. It's 20 feet longer than Noah's Ark, and it's 5 feet taller. Now, granted, Noah's Ark was about 50% wider, but just give you an idea, and I actually posted a picture on Facebook of Noah's Ark and our building with the sun setting on the same spot behind there, and it looked uncannily like it. So this is, I know what he felt like, because this is a huge project restoring this building in a big leap of faith. So that's why there's faith signs on the side of the building. These floors did not look like wood when I got here, because it was literally 100 years of grease and dirt, and they were painted gray a couple of times, so it took a lot of work to get it to look like this. And this side of the building had actually collapsed because the foundation had failed. They had filled in where the river was, and they went too high, and they abandoned it for 60 years. There were trees growing up higher than this building since it was abandoned behind it, all leaves falling off, built up dirt over the sill plate, so the sill plate rotted, and this side of the building sunk down 14 inches. So I own the construction company, Rockville Construction. We jacked this building up, and I worked here for 4 years with 25 men. I'm not a pencil pusher. I was out here before they got here at 7 in the morning, and I was here far after the second shift left at 11. I was here 16, 18-hour days every day. I ran 2 shifts here, and I worked my butt off. But we jacked this side of the building up. If you look at the wall over there, the bricks from the basement to the 4th floor had to be taken out. This is a very unique, you'll never walk into a building like this again. You'll never walk in a building and see this. This is a very unique architecture that doesn't exist anymore. It's 205 years old. What it is it's brick infilled with post and beam. There's no insulation, folks, in this building. It's a clapboard siding, 2 layers of bricks, and post and beam. They just don't build stuff like that anymore. It was built like that as a fire attenuation system, because that's probably why the building's still here. It's been on fire at least a half a dozen times. We've had 4 fires here since in the 10 years I've been here. So not in this building, but from lightning and exploding transformers and other things on the grounds. But anyway, so this it's a football field long. It's 4 stories. This floor has the strangest feel to it because the ceiling is 7'4" here. The floor let's take a walk through and I'll show you some more. When you go to the fourth floor, it's a 17-foot ceiling. It feels kind of like almost like a church, something like that, like a cathedral ceiling. The floor below here is a 10-foot ceiling, and the first floor is 14 foot. So as you're walking through, if you're wondering what all these motorcycles are, I told you guys we buy and sell motorcycles. There's 2 rows here. This is a listed row on the left. There's 25 motorcycles over here that are on eBay today. And on this side, there's 45 motorcycles from that number 10 bike down. These are all the motorcycles we sold in the last 30 days. They're waiting to be picked up by the consumers, and you can see most of them are vintage. There's probably less than a couple bikes that are less than 25 years old. These are all vintage motorcycles and dirt bikes. So that's how we pay for the staff that's here. So if you come over here, this is the last of its kind. It's originally a water-powered elevator, and it's now it's on its second electric motor. This stair tower, or this elevator tower, is completely restored from the ceiling all the way down. You can see we painted the ceiling gold and left the bricks, the original patina. It's a freight-only elevator. Great painstaking effort was made to keep it looking original, and it operates perfectly. And we use it to transport motorcycles to 4 floors on this building, and it also serves 4 floors on the building behind here. If you want to take a look at that, it's kind of unique. You won't see anything like that. This is also a 205-year-old brick stair tower, which is like something you'd see in an abandoned castle or something. If you take a peek inside here, it's kind of unique. It's worth taking a peek at for sure. This was the Shepherd Plumbing Company at one point had a building in here, or 2 floors of the building, I think. Oh yeah. Yeah. No, we're not. I just wanted to show this here. We're gonna go down the far end actually, but I just thought you'd get a kick out of this because you'll never see one again unless you go to like Europe or something like that. You know?
Yeah.
This was built with oxen. They used oxen and horses to tow. I actually have pictures from the Historic Society of oxen dragging the forms down the street. So all the metal in the entire building, the sprinkler system, this is probably the safest building in Rockville because it was closely scrutinized by 8 building officials, 1 a year for 8 years. That was a challenge. 2 fire marshals and then the state fire marshal. And I can't tell you how many times they came back with a list. Here's 8 more things, 8 more things, 8 more things. At one point I was like, they just don't want this to open ever. But eventually they signed off on it. $375,000 was invested in the sprinkler system for all 4 floors, including the basement. So I figured if you're gonna spend $375,000 on the system, you might as well make it pretty. So if you look at the decorations around it, the way it's painted to a degree, you probably won't see any other sprinkler system painted. It's painted with a paint called POR 15. It's very high quality paint. So when I'm dead and gone, this will still be looking good. So we have the tables up here. We have a lot of functions here, like the Harley Owners Group, the Indian Riders Group. There's a couple of women riders groups that have had events here. The New England Sports Committee has had events here where they'll basically, 50 to 300 people will show up and they'll have host an event here. We're actually hosting our first wedding here July 10th. We've had numerous requests for weddings, and we're doing our first one here July 10th. Chris Canning, local pro motocrosser, chose to get married here. But I'm going to show you guys something that the normal people that come to the museum don't ever see, and that's the 4th floor, because it's not open to the public, but I just want to show it to you because I think you'll get a kick out of it. A brand new stair tower, and we tried to make it look old school by using traditional materials, but it is brand new. This floor is still very much still under construction. It's not quite finished yet, but you can get an idea of what it's going to be like.
Yeah, this sucks.
If you, this is, believe it or not, this is where the young couple wants to get married, up here. So it's probably not going to happen. I don't know if we'll be ready yet, but we actually we've had and Drew can attest to this because he's very much a part of the spiritual resurrection of the town, doing Jesus Fest, having a dozen churches come to town, 8,000 people. I've had more, I was in the computer industry for 20 years. I never had any bishops, priests, or pastors come visit me, but there's been a nonstop flow of spiritual people coming through here. It's like a magnet for them now. This was ground zero of the spiritual decay of Rockville, and for some reason it's attracted a lot of very spiritual people here, including a bishop from the church came here last week, and a prophet, and he came up here and he said this should be your chapel. He said you should make this a chapel up here. So I was like, that's a pretty darn good idea. And we have Monday morning staff meetings where Moses leads us in prayer after the staff meeting, and he said that we should pick a spot to do that, and we're actually going to do it in the stair tower over here. We're going to finish that room and make that the prophet said we should put a sign on the front of the building. I'm going to do it, a black and gold sign. It's going to say House of God. So that's going to happen. So for better or for worse, that's one. If you look around here, take a look at this. See his hand right here? You gotta come over here. Yeah. On this side, there's a handprint on here. Anytime I found something cool in the building that we were restoring, I wanted to preserve the originality. So there's that. And if you look over here, there's some graffiti, which I hate graffiti, but this one's kind of cool. It says leather. It originally said leather ass Phelps, and I figured kids were coming up here, so I crossed off the ass part. But leather. Somebody whose nickname was Leather Ass Phelps was here with somebody named Spag in 1936. So my girlfriend Christy, 4 generations of her family worked in this building, and her mother. And her grandmother and her dad met in this building and got married. And of course, Christy's grandmother worked here, her mother and father, and Christy worked here in the building over there for 7 years. And now her daughter works here for me, so 4 generations of her family. So this goes from 1979, and there's just like anytime I saw something cool, like this is a heart shape with an arrow through it. It has my daughter's initials, TK, so I figured you got to keep that. So I tried to, when you're restoring old motorcycles, you never paint anything that doesn't have to be painted. So we left the original walls. This is the original color that, and as you walk through the mill, there's probably 15 different colors, and you'd ask, why are there so many different colors? Well, 200 years ago, almost everybody was an immigrant, right? So there were immigrants from Ireland, from Germany, from Poland. Everybody spoke different languages, and a lot of when you had 300 people working in here, didn't always all speak the same language. So they color coded everything. The finished cloth would go to the green area, ready to ship. The red stuff, I don't know what the colors meant, but that's what I was told. So let's take a walk through, and I'll show you some more of the history of the place. If you're wondering why it's not insulated, that was a gift of the State Historic Parks Office. We were going to insulate it. They wouldn't allow us to. They wanted it to be exactly the way it was 205 years ago. I wish I could send them the $9,000 a month heat bill if we keep the heat at 65. So if you're wondering why the heat's set at 50, well, we're struggling just to pay the $30,000 a year of taxes, let alone the $5,000 a month heat bill. So it's a very expensive building to operate. As you walk through, these are the, watch your step right here. Don't walk over here. Walk around this. This is actually holy oil that was spilt here by the prophet 2 days ago, and it looks like it gelled up. So,
Frozen.
believe it or not, that's exactly what that is. These spots right here are wear marks in the floor where generations of people stood here, and I didn't want to repair that, so to speak. I wanted to preserve that, so you can see the big machines are right here, and they wore marks in the floor from generations of standing in the same spot. So.
Wow.
Remember I told you the building was rotting when we got here? Well, it had completely rotted the floor out right here. So this was not salvageable. This is brand new section of flooring right here. It actually went all the way down to the first floor. There's that creek right there at Dale. For many moons, the water ran straight through as it did in the front here. This is the top of the stair tower. If you're wondering where we are, this is where we're going to have our morning meetings and morning prayer. Monday morning prayer is going to happen right here in this room. So our staff is 17 right now. So if it gets a little, why don't everybody come inside here? We'll form a big circle and do a little prayer here. Drew, you'd like to join me in prayer? This will be the first prayer held in this room. So everybody link hands.
Haha. There you go.
Well, that's a good point. And, you know, I don't believe in the whole Democrat Republican thing. I believe we're all Americans and that we're all, if we're gonna survive and thrive, we need to stop tearing each other apart. We need to be patriots and believe in this country. And I pulled Polly's lever, she's a Democrat, and I pulled Dan's lever, he's a Republican. I vote for who is kicking ass and getting things done. I don't care what side you're in, but that's what's wrong with this country. There's too much division. We all need to pull together, one nation, indivisible, under God. So with that, Lord, thank you for bringing all these awesome people here to visit us today and share our journey and our vision of where we came from and where we're going to. Keep everybody safe. Cover us all in the blood of Jesus. And please guide us to the next step in this awesome project you've allowed us to embark on. Drew, would you like to add something, please?
Oh, we just thank you so much for what's happening in Rockville. And we're very grateful that we can be part of it. And we ask for your blessing upon the fruits of our labors, that it would be good. Amen.
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 Thank you all. First prayer in the room. There you go. How many people here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, we can still fit the staff in here. We grew to 17. We grew any bigger. But I don't know, but this is a really cool room. This will be finished. I talked to one of our contractors that helped us on the project, and he's gonna finish this room, sheetrock it, and it's gonna be like a little chapel room, a meeting space. And you know, if we are doing this, if this is God's will, why not have the highest spot in the building? This is the prophet who came in. I said, where should you go? You need to have where do you do your prayer? And I said, well, we're doing it in the sales room. He goes, no, you need to pick a spot. And we walked through the building and he said, this is the best spot to do it. So I said, why not? Let's do it right here. And this is good.
Ken, there's a story behind this tower too. Wasn't there a cupola here? Or
There was.
You did consider that? Whatever happened with that?
It actually was too badly decayed. This whole stair tower almost fell off the building when we were working on the building. One of the things the State Historic Parks Office wanted us to do was to maintain these original beams. Unfortunately, the rest of the lumber was rotted, so we started at the basement and worked our way up piece by piece. Well, that's a very risky way to do it, and the building shifted 8 inches. We had to take a lull and push the building back up. The contractors were literally moving their cars out of the parking lot, and it was kind of and we had a short back up with 2x6s. This is a miracle, you know, that we were able to save what we did save, but there was a 30-foot tall cupola. If you look at the original historic photos of this place, it was beautiful. It was very ornate. We would like to recreate that. We paid the architect to design it and the engineer. We just don't have the $50,000 it would cost to do it. But there's also a bell that one of our benefactors found who has the bell that was in here originally, and we're trying to secure it and bring it back here. So it's a big church bell they had up in the top there, which would be awesome. So it's cool that you get to see this now, and everybody in YouTube world, thank you for watching. And if you haven't hit the subscribe button, please do. If you want to stay tuned on what we're doing, we post updates all the time. This will evolve, and we'll post videos on what we're doing here. And this is going to be an awesome room. And let's keep moving. There's much to see. Watch your step here. As you walk out, note that this wood here, see how thick this is? That's called 5/4 rock maple. If you look at the new stuff we put down, that's the thickest you can get unless you have the custom made. That's why it lasted 205 years. They don't make things like this anymore. And wood. Another interesting note, if you've been following us on YouTube, you'll see that the windows that we installed here 5 years ago are starting to rot on the first floor, unfortunately, which is a real terrible thing considering they cost $1,200 a piece. And the guy who sold me the windows said the wood today is made in farms in an environment where it grows faster. This was old growth wood that grew very slowly. So if you ever see the growth rings in a tree that's grown in a tree farm, the growth rings might be that big. Out in the wild, they're about half as much, so that the wood is much denser than and at this point, at 205 years old, it's basically close to petrified if it hasn't been waterlogged, you know. So if you're wondering why there's no flooring here, all the flooring up here was harvested to repair the flooring on the second and third floor, which we're heading down to the second floor. Now, the second and third floor look all original, completely restored. It's the original wood, but 5,000 square foot was salvaged from here to repair 10,000 square foot downstairs. So 30% of it was destroyed. It was another what I'll call labor of love, you know. This stair tower here is kind of a conversation piece too. This stair tower is a gift from the state of Connecticut Fire Marshal. It was a gift that kind of cut both ways. The whole project was shut down for 18 months because we had run out of money and we didn't have, the building was approved by the town fire marshal and the building official and met all the codes, but the state fire marshal is like a god. And we came in with his ruler and protractor. He said, no, I want a stair tower on a 4-story stair tower in a 205-year-old building that was already done. So we had to rip out the entire plumbing, heating, lighting, everything and start over. And we ended up getting an Urban Act grant, thank you to the mayor and the town council and everybody who supported us. Interestingly, we've been taking a town council at least 6 or 7 times so far. Everything we've asked for has been passed unanimously. I think someone mentioned the bipartisan Republican, Democrat, but I can tell you when it comes to Rockville, the people that care about it, whether they're Democrats or Republicans, are all doing the right thing. And that's why there's been so much progress in this little city in a short time. Everybody's working together, no matter which side of the fence they're on. And that needs to happen elsewhere in the country. And I think we're a great example of what a small city can do when everybody pulls together with backing from the state and the federal government. If you look at some of these photos, I was about 40 pounds heavier and I had really short hair. Well, this project, you're not sitting behind a desk pushing a pencil. It takes a lot out of you. So this we've been on the front page of the Connecticut Magazine. We've been in the newspaper over 30 times. Been on TV. There's a bunch of awards from the state of Connecticut. The state of Connecticut gave me this award for taking on the enormous effort of restoring a 200-year-old historic mill and making it a world-class destination and a hotspot for motorcycle enthusiasts. Come a little closer. Additionally, you're not going to be able to hear that from over there at all. The acoustics are going to be horrendous. For energizing a renewed interest in Rockville by founding and leading the Rockville Volunteer Services Group. We talked about that earlier. Holly Schaefer and Carl went out with me every Wednesday night for 2 years, busting their ass with their own truck, their own chainsaws, their own weed whackers, and they were team leaders. They'd take off with 10 people one direction on West Main. I'd go the other direction with 10, 15 others. We had some team leaders that stepped up. There's 2 of them right around across these guys. There's 2. Holly's been on the town council for how long now?
18 years.
18 years. That's a serious commitment. That's a volunteer position, folks. And Carl maintained for many years, for free, the town baseball diamonds, and that's just a small part of what they've done for their community.
The Little League, Rockville Little League.
And that's a whole baseball field that he took care of himself. So, and then for leading the Rockville Volunteer Service Group, your efforts are greatly appreciated. And why this is important is you can't pull off a project like this without help with a whole, not only the community, but you need the state and the federal government to understand what it is you're trying to accomplish, because there are going to be roadblocks thrown in your way. Unfortunately, of the 1,000 people that helped this happen, there's been 2 or 3 that threw serious curveballs our way that shut us down for 18 months and cost us over $1 million. And I won't mention their names, they know who they are, and they know what they did, but it is what it is. Not everybody is part of the solution, and we talked about that earlier, everybody pulling together. That's what we need to do, not just as a town and a city, but as a country. Everybody's got to pull in the same direction, no matter what side of the fence you're on. And when you see something good happening like this, sometimes jealousy gets in the way, or egos, I'm not sure what it is. Somebody gives somebody a badge and they see, you can see things one way or the other, but anyway, there's been a tremendous outpouring of support. Let's face it, I'm not doing this for the money, right? I had a successful computer career. I took over $2 million in 10 years, $2 million of my own money in 10 years of my life around the clock investing into this. I'm doing this. This is a greater cause. This is a calling. I feel this is God's will for my life, and great things are going to come to pass. But sometimes it's the pat on the back, it's the phone call, it's the acknowledgement of somebody like Drew organizing an event like this. It's you guys showing up and being part of the solution that makes it all worthwhile, because it's definitely a labor of love. So this is the entryway. The entry to the second floor. The bands, we usually play out front there. We have picnic tables up front. And we have a lot of events during the summer with thousands of people that show up. Over 25,000 people have come to tour the museum in the last 2 years. This was made out of all salvaged wood and lumber from a building that we had dismantled here, and also flooring from the 4th floor. So we tried to use old materials. All the railings were made on site here in our own welding shop. There's a whole story behind that too, but we'll just keep moving. This is the second floor. This was a loading dock and the floor was completely destroyed here, so I had to put new lumber down here. This is new flooring and it's not as good as the old flooring, but it has to do for now. We have a small library over here. We are gonna put a larger library in. I have a couple of retired librarians that are helping me with that. We have over 3,000 books and magazines, mostly old ones about motorcycles. If you go to the local library and ask them for their motorcycle books, you'll get 3 to 5 books. So nobody's preserving the history and the culture of motorcycles. So we're taking it upon ourselves to collect as much motorcycle literature and books. If you have anything you want to bring to the museum or donate or loan to the museum, we are looking for books, memorabilia. Not a week goes by that something isn't mailed to us by one of our fans, mostly on YouTube. But everything in here, all the memorabilia, is just all stuff that was collected or donated. And if you, here's another volunteer over here.
I was donated to folks.
This guy Carl, him and his wife, they run the museum for us on the weekends. The museum's run by volunteers. If you want a tour of the place and to find out about this 1929 Harley Davidson or the Captain America bike or the vintage Harleys or Indians, this is the guy who will probably be doing it. And one of the things I wanted to point out, check this out. This book right here is literally hundreds of pages of people that have been here to the museum. Here's one from Virginia, Greensboro, North Carolina, Malagna, Espana, I don't even know where that is, Cleveland, Ohio, Hancock, New Hampshire, Burlington, Connecticut, Northridge, California, Dallas, Texas, every page, Upton, Mass, Mexico, New York, New Hampshire, Rochester, Minnesota. Where else in Connecticut are people coming from all over the country and the world to visit us? Where else? Not too many spots. This has become a serious magnet for tourism. So, and not just for the motorcycles, there's the industrial tourism, the 205-year-old building. People see this online and if they have a call and they're like, go on our YouTube channel, look at the comments that are coming in. They're from all over the world. So, California, New Rochelle, New York, Massachusetts, New Jersey. Here's one, New Zealand, Bath, Maine. I mean, when's the last time someone from New Zealand visited Rockville? I can tell you, never. It's never happened before. Okay, so
Happened twice.
yeah.
Mistaken, it has happened twice.
Yeah, to visit us. That's what it is.
That's right.
Here's one from Martha's Vineyard, Branford, Connecticut. The point is, tens of thousands of people have flocked to Rockville and will continue to from outside our zip code. And what does that do for the local community? Well, all the gas stations are selling them gas when they get here. The restaurants are selling them food, and they're buying perishables, whatever they want at the local establishments here, supermarkets and convenience stores. So it's the package store on the corner here. That guy could probably retire from all the motorcycles that have come here and bought beer in the last couple of years. So speaking of which, that's one of the things we're trying to open a microbrewery here. Drew Crandall's bought a half a dozen of them through here. So I could keep on going here, but you get the idea. Caribou, Maine, Florida, Salt Lake City, Utah, Melbourne, Australia. Now, I'm not making this up, folks. Here, take a look. Melbourne, Australia, New York, Washington, Utah. I mean, when's the last time someone from Melbourne, Australia made a pilgrimage to Rockville? I tell you what, never. It's never happened. So that's when it happened. So I guess what'll happen again is they're going to tell their friends about this place and they're going to come back. So, and that's why it's important to take care of all the people in town. There won't be any cars. Sorry, mattresses on the sidewalk or your own couches.
Where am I gonna sleep?
So, and if you're homeless, we'll help you find a place. But the panhandling has been curtailed.